All right, I'd like to call the Town Council meeting in order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have the roll call, please?
Jim Marker, Larry Balla,
Present.
Rick Rifa,
Present.
Melissa Robbins, Tony Hobson.
Present.
Each member has received a copy of the December 5th minutes. What's the pleasure?
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. We have no claims today. Could we have the announcements?
One announcement today, the next town council meeting will be on Tuesday, December 19th at 7 PM. There will be a study session before the meeting at 6:30 and one will follow if necessary.
Very good. We have no reports. Go to public comment on agenda items. Anybody have a comment or a question on any agenda item before we vote on it?
Yeah, I've got actually a couple of comments. My name is Jeff Donka, I live at 1536 North Union Street, Griffith. I'm very disappointed in how this meeting is going. I don't know how Griffith residents are supposed to know that there's any kind of meeting going when this was what I saw in the Hammond Times. 2.5-inch thing, legal notice on appropriations for what, basically $1.5 million. If I look at the town's agenda for tonight, there is no agenda. I looked on their website, if you look under there, they show that they have the meeting, there's no link to the agenda on there. Unless, of course, you look at this news thing that's behind, underneath, which is just a copy of this. I'm also very disappointed at the time it's being held, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Got a majority of residents, whether it's Griffith or in another town, that are either at work or coming home from work or whatever. I don't know why this was not held at a little more favorable time to where more Griffith residents were, had the ability to show off. And the other thing is, it's, according to this, I mean, we're looking at basically between all the dollars involved, 1.4 million. I think that's a lot, and I would like to, for the town to, maybe give a little background on what all these, what the bond is for. I mean, what is the breakdown of why
Okay.
we need an additional 1.4 million?
I think there might be a misconception on what the appropriations are actually, the definition of the appropriations. This is actually money that's already been spent. When the budget was done last year, it allowed us to spend X amount of dollars. There were expenditures over those dollars of cash that's already been spent. This just allows us to create the additional appropriation, which then, through the state's statutes and everything else, allows us to have spent the money. But this money has already been spent.
So we're taking a bond in, or?
No, there's no borrowing, no nothing.
This is just basically for bookkeeping. You gotta close the books at the end of the year.
Okay, I didn't take it that.
And the state requires us to have a public hearing if we increase appropriations above the budgeted amount from the beginning of last year.
That clarifies a lot. Still, I kind of stand by my comments that we would want more public,
Sure.
input that it needs to be done in a more favorable time.
Yeah, they usually are. This is just like, it's just a.
There's one item on the agenda to go ahead and get this to balance the books. We're normally Tuesdays at 6:30 at night, 7 o'clock, and we encourage public comment. I think we're very receptive and open, but the clerk's office needs us to get this done so that they can go and get the books closed. And
And did you give you some timelines on it? There's a 10-day notice requirement, advance notice requirement to advertise the public hearing. The state is requiring that any request for additional appropriations be completed by December 15th. So as we got towards the end of November, after Thanksgiving, we would have normally had done it on the Tuesday meeting, December 19th, but we had to comply with what the state requirements were as well. So that's why it's held at this time today. And as far as the appropriations, Gina or somebody from the clerk's staff, what was the majority of the overspending on this year?
The majority was engineering.
Okay. And approximately how much was engineering above the budget?
What did we figure, Jackie, do you remember?
Would it be safe to say it's a majority of the
1.2.
1.2 that was out of the general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do know that some of that is reimbursable for like the raker and things like that. We have to prepay for it,
This
so.
was for the engineering, for the study, for the,
Well, multiple projects.
So anything-
Not one project.
Anything from the trash raker you see at Arbogast, there's engineering that's being completed for a roundabout on Avenue H and Broad Street, of which I think 90% of that's reimbursable. We had a significant amount of engineering in other areas for the consent decree that has to be done for the lift station at, or not the lift station, but the sanitary station on Klein Avenue, and there's several other areas. One thing that we're implementing starting January 1st, though, we will have a purchase order system in place where anytime anybody requests X amount of dollars to be spent, they'll have to get a purchase order with the department heads will, and that will automatically take out any of the dollars allocated in that appropriation, so this can't happen again without us having it. So we don't want to have to be doing this at the end of any year.
So, let me ask, you guys knew you were spending money you didn't have?
Not necessarily. We found that out, that it was, in the last several months, that there was the expenses exceeding the appropriations.
And who signed off on this spending to get to this position?
Well, the clerk treasurer processes all the payments, and then the council,
Who authorized the spending? No, I'm not asking that, I'm asking who said, yeah, go ahead, spend the money on this, did that come from the council?
it came from the appropriations that were presented to us. We did not know at the time that it was above appropriations. We were just approving the dollars.
And you guys just go, yeah, okay, appropriations, and you don't bother to look at it?
We looked at it, and that's where we found out that we were overspending, as it started exceeding that.
You didn't look at it ahead of time?
Not as close as we probably could have. And it's not uncommon to ask for additional appropriations at the end of year. I think we've done that many times over the last several years, so this is a little bit high this time because all the increase of the engineering. While, the engineering's an investment in the future for other projects, we should have addressed that probably earlier in the year, yes. All right, any other comments? We'll go to new business. Actually, I believe we had advertised for a public hearing. Is that correct?
Jackie says yes. Public hearing, we advertise for, yes.
So we will have a public hearing, open up the public hearing to hear any comments for or against the appropriation increase. So I will open up the public hearing. Is there anybody to speak for or against this? All right, anybody is going to speak? All right, last call. All right, the public hearing is closed. And do we have note that this was properly advertised in the newspapers?
Yes.
Very good. All right, go to the first item on the new business, Mr. Hobson.
I have ordinance number 2032-42, additional appropriations. Whereas the town council of the town of Griffith, Indiana, has determined that it is now necessary to appropriate more money than what was appropriated in the annual budget. Now therefore, be it ordained by the town council of the town of Griffith, Indiana, that section 1 be it resolved by the town of Griffith, Lake County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of funds named for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. General Fund, $1,290,037.95. LRNS, $35,178.43. And Cuban Building Fund, $81,247.49. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2023-42.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Once again, this is not additional spending, this is actually additional appropriations that cover the spending that's already happened for the year. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Do you have any other items from the council? All right, we'll go to public comment. Anybody has a public comment or question before we close the meeting? All right, anything else from the council?
Chairman, or President Reifeld, it's drafted as an ordinance, so I think there needs to be a final
Yeah,
adoption.
you're right, actually, yes, that's correct.
Suspend the rules.
All right, Mr. Hobson,
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules to adopt ordinance 2023-42 today.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Actually, let's have a roll call, please.
Okay, Larry Bella,
In favor.
Rick Rifa,
In favor?
Tony Hobson.
In favor.
All right, the rules are suspended.
I'll remake my motion to adopt ordinance number 2023-42.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. All right, now we'll go to public comment. Last call for public comment. All right, actually, thank you for coming to the meeting and show your concern. It's good to see people see that stuff. So, all right, the meeting is adjourned.